وسهلا بكل الذين ينضموا للاستماع إلى راديو بلدي، أول راديو عربي أمريكي ويعنى بقضايا العرب في المهجر. برامجنا في راديو بلدي كل يوم جمعة من 8 وحتى 9 صباحا في بث حي ومباشر عبر WNZK راديو 690 AM. صباح الخير بلدي، صباح الخير لكل مستمعينا.
Welcome to Radio Baladi, the first Arab, Middle Eastern, and American simulcast radio show. Radio Baladi is broadcast every Friday morning on WNZK 690 AM from 8 until 9 Eastern Time on Good Morning, Michigan. Our call-in number 248-557-3300. And now, stay tuned for the best radio talk show on Arab and American issues.
And hello, everyone, and this is Season 4, Episode 31 of Two Guys on Politics, which is broadcast on the U.S. Arab Radio Network on WNZK AM 690 Radio, as well as podcast video cast on YouTube at twoguysonpolitics.com. You can go there and see all of our podcasts, myself, Hanania, and, of course, Bill Lipinski, the former congressman. In today's podcast, we're going to look at Trump's trip to Asia, the government shutdown and its impact on the country, the push for a Trump third term and the basics of the 22nd Amendment, Trump tearing down the East Wing and building a $300 million banquet hall, which I'm sure he's probably going to call Trump Hall, and the collapse of the Republican Party in Illinois, and possibly the growing war in the Caribbean and South America if we have time. We invite you to subscribe to our podcast by visiting twoguysonpolitics.com so you can get the latest episodes. We're going to take a quick break here for some commercials, and when we come back, Bill and I will begin the program.
Arab Center Washington, D.C. was established in 2015 to serve as a Washington-based authoritative research center on the Arab world and U.S. policies in the region. My name is Khalil Jahshan, and I'm the Executive Director of Arab Center, Washington, D.C.
I am Tamara Kharoub. I'm the Deputy Executive Director and Senior Fellow here. Our mission at Arab Center, Washington, D.C. has been to provide Arab perspectives to U.S. policy conversations and to highlight rights-centered approaches to policymaking as a way to serve the causes of human rights, democracy, just and peaceful resolution to conflict, and constructive long-term U.S. interest in the region.
Our work also addresses fundamental aspects of U.S.-Arab relations through timely and objective academic research, policy analysis, and educational exchange, reaching millions of people here in the United States and around the world.
Since our inception, we invested in producing reliable, evidence-based, and inclusive analysis on important issues shaping the Middle East and North Africa.
We would like to invite you personally to check out our publications and events at arabcenterdc.org.
And please follow our social media platforms for timely responses to news, events, and current affairs.
arabcenterdc.org.
Tired of the complexities of immigration? Haunted by the threat of deportation? Struggling to reunite with your family? Have you ever dreamed of living and working legally in America but don't know where to start? L. Sharnobi and Associates Law Firm, a leader in immigration and naturalization law, offers you legal support across the United States. We specialize in asylum, deportation defense, green cards and citizenship, family reunification, all types of immigration visas. Don't wait any longer. Contact us today and let our expertise lead you toward a secure and stable future. To schedule a consultation, call us at 313-581-9666. That's 313-581-9666.
Lead is invisible, but the dangers are real. Michigan's blood lead testing law aims to help identify exposure to lead in young children. All children should be tested for lead at ages 1 and 2. If they've never been tested, they should get a test by age 6. To help your child stay healthy, talk to their doctor about a blood lead test or visit michigan.gov/myleadsafe. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
I'm Ray Hanania.
I'm Bill Lipinski, and this is Two Guys on Politics. And the next voice you hear will be the voice of reason, rationale, and a few other things that I'll come up with later on. Ray Hanania.
Oh, I thought you were going to pat yourself on the back the way Trump does, the voice of reason.
I've broken my arm a few times doing that, Ray,
Yeah,
so I've given up
I'm
that.
sure well, in your case, it might be deserved. I'm not quite sure about our erratic, mercurial President Trump, who's off in Asia. He threatens all these tariffs and then kind of brings them down. And, I don't mind it if it really were done right, but it's like he uses it like he weaponizes the threat of tariffs, to scare people and start conflicts. And then he thinks, I guess, in conflict that he could find resolution and stuff. But I was looking at the Wall Street Journal this morning, and they said Amazon is going to lay off 14,000 corporate workers. UPS is cutting 48,000 jobs, in management and operations. And of course, we go to the grocery store. 4 years ago, the price of Diet Coke was only $1.10, $1.20 at the most when Preckwinkle was trying to raise that tax. And now it's $2.79. I mean, $2.79, that to me, there's certain items, right, that reflect how the costs have gone up. That means our income has been eaten alive. Almost probably 60% of the value has disappeared of whatever you're making. If people haven't gotten a raise over the last 5 or 6 years, to compensate the cost of living, they're in bad shape. And I'll tell you, seniors are the worst. We just got notified that our Social Security increase, which will begin in January, is only 2.8%. And they go, that's a lot. And I go, what? You're killing us. The president is killing us. The economy is killing us, Bill.
Could I say reasonably that you're not on the Trump bandwagon?
No, I'm on the pro-economy bandwagon, and I think Trump is the one who's not on the pro-economy bandwagon.
I think that's all fake news.
Well, that's what he would say.
Is rolling along fantastically. Everything is wonderful. Prices are low. Income is high. The sun is shining. Everything is wonderful. The truth of the matter is, those layoffs by those big corporations are certainly a show that things are not going well in this country.
Right.
Now, I really think to a certain extent it's a retaliation on the part of those companies because of Trump and his tariffs. Now, I have no problem with tariffs whatsoever. I personally think the world has been ripping us off for years and years. So initially, I was happy with the way Trump went at this, talking about, increasing the tariffs on products coming in here, unless, we could get some fair trade with these other countries. But really, what have we gotten so far? It seems to me like he has backed down considerably on most of these tariffs that he was talking about putting into effect. Now, the big test is going to come on Thursday when we find out what kind of deal we really make with the Chinese, because that's really the only one that is very significant in our economy. We're the biggest economy in the world, the greatest military in the world. But number two is China, both militarily and economically. Those are the ones. China is the one we have to come to some kind of arrangement with. Otherwise, we got to continue to drift more and more into hostile territory. And I don't think either one of us really want a war between the two countries.
Do you trust President Trump in terms of his ability to negotiate prices? I mean, we haven't seen anything regarding a reprieve for, Americans with the economy. I haven't seen anything. What has he gotten us that that through all of this, all his policies and everything, the economy sucks. It's terrible.
Let me switch to another area. Let me switch to Gaza, Israel, the Palestinians. What has he gotten there except getting back all the live hostages from the I want to say
from the Israeli hostages that were held by
that's it.
by
I haven't
Hamas.
seen anything else happen. Have you in that deal?
No, not at all. And the worst part is, though, that the Israeli, I mean, let's talk about Gaza since we brought it up. The
Right,
worst part is
absolutely.
Israelis have totally destroyed Gaza. 90% of every building, mosques, schools, churches, and churches, all the Christian churches have been destroyed. It's not just mosques because there's this racism in our country. They think, oh, it's okay because they're Muslims. But these are Christians that are getting killed too. They've destroyed everything. They've killed all the leaders of Hamas, all the major leaders. And, you know, they're in any movement, you're going to have a new leader stand up. It doesn't matter. You're suddenly a leader, you know, if you're the next guy in line. But the Israelis are saying, well, the Palestinians are not returning the remains of hostages. But these remains have been blown up in these places that have been destroyed. We don't know if some of the hostages were killed by the Israelis. You know, we still don't know what the truth is from October 7th. We've only heard Israel's propaganda. We've heard the Arab propaganda about what's going on in Gaza. The difference is Israel allows media that is favorable to Israel to cover Gaza, and they prohibit media that is unfavorable to Israel to cover Gaza. And according to the Committee to Protect Journalists, they've killed 247 independent journalists, you know, including some journalists with major, you know, news organizations that are very upset about this, control that. So I don't think Trump understands what's really happening there. I think he just goes in, he bullies somebody, and I'm glad to see him bullying Netanyahu. But his words are meaningless.
I'm glad that they got the hostages back, okay? But
Some
that's
of them.
only tangible. Well, no, they got all the living hostages back as far as we know.
Well, we're not talking about the hostages that Israel has taken.
No, we're not talking about those.
2,000. Like, nobody cares about those 2,000 hostages. I mean,
sure
let's be honest. Come on, Bill.
You
got to be honest.
I opened up this subject.
Well, and this has an impact on our economy because we're the ones, we gave Israel over $24 billion to fight this war, right? That came out of your money and my money. And that doesn't include the cost of the military being sent, you know, the ships, the amount of time we've spent on there, the cost of the military industrial complex focusing on this is huge too. So it's cost us, and it's added to our financial and economic burden, which brings us back to the real topic that we were talking about. The economy, I don't think it's great. I think you were joking earlier, right, about it being great.
Yeah, I certainly was joking about it.
Thank God, Bill. I can take your views on the Middle East, but the economy, I don't know if I could live with that if you were saying it's great. I'm glad.
My views on the Middle East, I've never had an opportunity to express my views on the Middle East.
Well, we can read that.
I should have learned never to mention anything near the Middle East because you're good at managing to slide right into it. You ought to get yourself a job as a PR man.
You think that? Listen, your position on the Middle East is when Israel calls you and tells you what it is, then you're going to have a view on the Middle East.
Oh, I have a view. They've already called. I know what it is.
Now you were a good congressman. I mean, when you were in Congress, though, you didn't get a lot of money from the Israelis, did you? From AIPAC?
No, I did not. No.
Yeah. See,
I was very fortunate in having strong political organization support me back in Chicago. So I really didn't I would send out letters of solicitation for fundraisers, but I would never call anybody. So those organizations, such as the Jewish organizations, unless you call them wanting to get money so they could establish some kind of relationship with you, they didn't just send you a check. You had to call them. Well, I never bothered calling anybody because, frankly, I didn't need it. But that was the way that they operated. That's how they got a lot of people, you know, on their side. Now, yes, I'm on the Israeli side, but I'm not going into this because you know a lot more about it than I do.
No, that's okay, though.
All I simply said was that Trump, the only thing he got was getting these hostages back. Nothing else.
We
But you
know
would
that.
think that he should get the Nobel Peace Prize for
Oh,
that?
God.
Absolutely not.
Oh,
And the
good. I'm
economy,
glad you said not. That's good. I
I
agree with
think
that.
the economy is getting worse and worse each and every day. And I'll tell you, when they stop, here, my wife brought up a very good point this morning.
Sure. Sure.
When these poor people stop getting this SNAP money and
Oh,
WIC
God.
money,
Yeah, that's,
okay? So
yeah.
these poor neighborhoods, people are going to start getting desperate. There are probably going to be a lot more robberies going on in these places because of the fact people are desperate. They're no longer getting the money from the federal government. They have to feed their family. They don't care what it's going to cost them, as far as crime goes. They're going to feed their families, which I understand. But that's going to take a toll on our economy also.
Yeah, and I agree. I agree with that. I think that the suspension of all the SNAP, because the government shutdown now is gone almost for 30 days. By the time people hear this, it'll be over 30 days, and it doesn't look like they're going to end this government shutdown. It's going on longer than it's ever gone. But this problem with, Trump, if he really wanted to correct something and fix something, he would fix the welfare system in our country that is set to make it easy for people to take welfare rather than to go out and work. And I'm not saying everybody,
no question about it.
A small portion, I'd say maybe 30, maybe 40% of the people who are on welfare could actually go out and work, have meaningful lives, instead of just sitting at home and then getting these free handouts and living at a very low income level just to survive.
You know that 20% of Americans do not have a job. All they do is live on the federal government handouts. 20% in a country this rich, this wealthy.
Right.
I mean, that is an absolute sin. And why are those people that way? Because they're getting enough money from the federal government not to go out and get a job.
Yeah.
And now they're not going to have that. But unless they like to be landscapers in all these Mexican landscapers who are being chased out of the country because they may not have the right papers. There'll be a lot of jobs available for them there, but I don't think they're going to take those because those are hard jobs working out in the sun.
And I'm going to throw Israel under the bus real quick because they have free health insurance thanks to us giving them billions every year. And we have to pay for health insurance. And we've seen how the cost of health insurance is tripling. Across, it's just rampant. And people, the changes, there's like no control on the American insurance industry, whether it's your car or whether it's your health. We have no control over that insurance. It's just increasing. I want to separate the seniors from that group that you were just talking about. That I think you said there are 20% of the people
20%. Yeah,
have no job.
The seniors are not in there. They get
That's
a different
what I mean.
pot of money. That's Social Security. They paid into it. They're entitled to that. I say that because I'm getting mine.
Well, I mean, listen, you paid for what, 60 years Social Security? I paid 50 years or more of Social Security. We paid the money into the system. Right. They then said that they were saving it and investing it, but I'm not quite sure whether they really did or whether they used it. And now they threaten us and say, well, we might not have your money. It turns out maybe we didn't invest it very well.
That's the last thing that you're ever going to lose is your Social Security.
I hope so.
Absolute revolution in this country if that ever happened. Believe me.
No. Zoran Mamdani is not going to take away our Social Security. I like that guy, by the way, in New York. The more I listen to him, he talks about the need to help get people off, out on their feet and give them opportunities. He's not talking about giving more welfare to people and increasing the free giveaways. He's talking about, we got to do something to give them real jobs instead of funding the billionaires and the corporations that really this country.
You ever hear of a guy by the name of Nikolai Lenin?
Yeah, Lenin, Stalin. I've heard of all of them. Yeah, that's a sad.
Yes, that's a sad 1917 part. In Russia. Yes.
Listen, Bill, when someone could say that you're a socialist when you say that, we got to get these people off of welfare and free the lamb here. But no, seriously, getting back to this economy, we don't have any control. The bottom line comes to the president, and I have no confidence that the president has control on the economy whatsoever. He talks and he shoots from the side of his mouth, from his hip, like he's a gunslinger. And the plans are a whim of Jello. I think somebody told me, that he has a whim of Jello and he just does whatever he wants, and it could change any moment. That's frightening to me because the economy is in a horrible state, and nobody's taking it serious. Everybody says, "Oh, don't worry about it. It's okay." If they took it serious, we wouldn't have this government shutdown. The two sides would become.
Trump is a gunslinger. Unfortunately, he never hits the target when he slings.
That's true.
I take that back. He has had one great success. He knocked down the east wing of the White House.
Oh, the way Daley knocked down Meigs Field, right?
Yes. Please don't bring that up. I had to defend that move in Congress. I was right. Daley was right. It was his land, his airport. The contract with the federal government had run out. No one was in charge but Rich Daley, and he took care of it.
And I'm pretty sure that he knew that the contract was going to run out. And instead of extending it, he decided, let it run out. Then we'll just rip up the runways so they can't land any planes.
By that brilliant humanitarian Frank Kruse. Remember Frank Kruse?
It wasn't Tim Degnan.
No, it wasn't Tim. No,
Tim Degnan was a great guy, sanitation
yes, Tim
guy,
was a very, very good guy. I like
top aide to Richard M. Daley. Yeah, but right. Frank Kruse dug up those runways, and that ended Meigs Field.
As long as we're talking about the dailies, I want to put in a plug. There's a new book out called Clout City. Okay. It's really the history of the Democratic organization in Cook County. It is an excellent book. It really gives you a very good history of how it started, how Chicago was run by the Germans and the Protestants, and how the Irish and the Catholics and the Democrats came along and took it away from them. But it really goes into a very good history. Anyone that's interested in politics and in Cook County should get this book called Clout City. They would really enjoy it, and they would learn about the history of how the machine came to be.
Yeah, actually, I'm going to get that book and read it. I love to read everything about Chicagoland politics, especially in the turmoil that it's in, thanks in part to the president. You want to shift gears a little bit? We have about 5 minutes. We can talk about, it probably takes more than 5 minutes, but the president's push for a third term. He wants to, and he's talking about it like it's a real thing. And at first I thought, oh no, that's impossible. But the more I read and the more I dug into this, the more I realized it's possible to change things. That 22nd Amendment was passed because after George Washington was president, he said, no, nobody should serve more than 2 terms. And he stepped down. He didn't run for a third term. And it was a tradition not to run for more than 2 terms until Franklin Roosevelt, who served 4 terms, right? He was elected 4 times.
Yes.
I think he died in office right during the war.
Yes, he did.
And at that point, after the war, they passed this amendment, the 22nd Amendment, but it had to be ratified by, I think, 2/3 or 60% of the U.S. states, all the states. At that time, there were only 48 of them. And they didn't have Alaska and Hawaii yet, but they had 48 states, and 2/3 of them did ratify that, and it became a law. Do you think, here's the question, he has the vote in Congress before the midterms next November, okay?
Correct.
I think there's a chance he's going to lose control, but I think between now and next November, in this next year we have, he could pass through Congress another an amendment to the 22nd Amendment, and then send it to this and get that process going to send it to the states.
But I don't think there's enough, Ray. I don't think there's enough states that would be willing to do it, to subvert the American economy, subvert the American way of life, subvert the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence. That's what you would be doing if you gave him a third term. Franklin Roosevelt was a different story. He was a monumental president. But this guy is nothing but an egotist. And it's good someday, as you mentioned earlier, that East Wing will be called Trump Hall.
Yes, I agree. Listen, here's what scares me though. When you look at the election map,
Yes.
more than 2/3 of the states went Republican for Trump.
Well,
They're
that's one.
all red. And the Democratic states, these concentrated urban areas with the highest crime rates and all the problems that they have, that's one of the things that hurts Democrats, that inability to address crime and control it. That's what kills the Democratic Party, and bad leaders that they have in the national scene. But I think he could get the state vote. He could get enough states, I think, to pass that and give him a third term. That's what scares me. And if he could get the amendment passed before November and then start the process of getting a vote from the state, by the time he finishes his second term, he just might get that passed. And that really worries me.
Does he need just a simple majority in the Senate?
That I don't know. I don't know. It's I do know it's I think he needs 3/4 of the state legislators. So all those legislators. So we have 50 legislators,
yeah. So we
need about 38 states, and I think he has 38 states.
I hope you're wrong. I don't think so, and I hope you're wrong. And the guy that's really pushing this is that guy who I liked when Trump first ran, Steve Bannon.
Oh, yeah, right.
He's a great champion of the middle class. Well, he just turned out to be a guy interested in making money, as far as I'm concerned. He is probably the supreme bomb thrower in government. Well, he's not in government anymore, but in politics. He is Mr. Bomb Thrower.
Yeah, he put a spotlight on it this week saying, hey, Trump is really going to go for it. And yes. I think we should take it seriously. And I think there needs to be, if we had the Democratic Party, if it were organized, which it is not, then, we talk in Illinois with my column this week. We could talk about it the next segment. But in Illinois, the Republican Party is a disaster for the most part, but not across the country. And the Democrats are the ones that are a disaster across the country. They can't get together. They're fighting amongst themselves. They won't stand together. And Trump, who is really a Democrat who ran as a Republican, is manipulating it all. And they allow him to do that. It really bothers me. And the good people, like centrists, like Joe Manchin, got out. They didn't want it. I don't know. I think it was term limited. He might have been term limited.
No, he wasn't term. No, he just got out voluntarily. That's all. But there's no term limit on the Senate.
Yeah, and you have to be. It has to be discouraging for a popular senator to decide that he doesn't want to run for another term. So it worries me tremendously that Trump's new right-wing party might be able to do that. I don't even want to call it the Republican Party, because it's not the same Republican Party that you and I knew when Ronald Reagan was the president. It's completely different. So, yeah, it just worries me. And I really am concerned that they will push this through. Now, can they do it? I don't know, but it may only come down to a few states that will be the deciding factor. And the Democrats, I don't think, are strong enough to stop it.
Well, I'm going to have to read up on it more and more, since you're that concerned about it. I didn't think there was any chance of having it, but and while I'm reading up on that, you could probably get a little more information on Gaza and Israel and the Palestinians and Hamas, because we might want to know a bit more.
Yeah, listen, if it wasn't the fact that I'm Palestinian, or the fact that it costs us taxpayers so much money, we fund everything Israel does. The good thing is, though, Bill, that in today's political environment, Israel, because of Netanyahu, is taking a beating. And a lot of elected officials are turning back Israel's lobby money. They're actually saying no. And these are Democrats and Republicans who have, until now, have accepted the money and done whatever Israel wants. Netanyahu has done a great disservice to Israel. And of course, I think he's done a great disservice to peace in the Middle East and caused so much killing. And that doesn't excuse Hamas, which is, in my opinion, has always been a terrorist organization. But
the Middle East situation is an absolute tragedy, beyond the shadow of a doubt. All the innocent people that have been killed because the political leaders cannot find a way to get together and live in peace and harmony as they once did for a long, long time.
Yes, they did. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we will continue discussing topics. We have more topics that we're going to go over. So let's take a quick break, Bill, and we'll be right back right after these messages.
Lead is invisible, but the dangers are real. Michigan's blood lead testing law aims to help identify exposure to lead in young children. All children should be tested for lead at ages 1 and 2. If they've never been tested, they should get a test by age 6. To help your child stay healthy, talk to their doctor about a blood lead test or visit michigan.gov/myleadsafe. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Life for Relief and Development has now been rated as one of the best charities for humanitarian aid. Life's humanitarian projects span the globe, and Life is celebrating its 30th anniversary of providing essential life-saving aid to people and communities in 36 countries, regardless of race, color, religion, or cultural background. Where there is life, there is hope. And when disaster occurs here or around the world, including being one of the first responders to the Turkey-Syria earthquake crisis, Life for Relief and Development rushes in to provide food, medical aid, and shelter to those in need. We are looking to help the earthquake victims, and we take 0% overhead on emergency donations. So please help improve these efforts. Learn more about our involvement to help the helpless and bring hope where it's needed most, and make your tax-deductible donation to Life for Relief and Development now at lifeusa.org or call 248-424-7493. That's 248-424-7493.
A car accident can change your life in an instant. As a result of a car accident, you may become unemployed. As a result of a car accident, you may need a lot of medical treatment. People think that insurance companies are on their side. Why? Because they're giving them one or two benefits. Are they giving them all the benefits they deserve? How would one know unless you consult with an attorney? Call the law offices of Jumana Kiruz at 248-557-3645. 248-557-3645.
I'm Ray Hanania.
I'm Bill Lipinski, and this is Two Guys on Politics.
And we're in segment 2 here. And one of the issues we're going to talk about is the growing war in the Caribbean and South America. Trump, I guess you don't need to ask Congress for any type of approval, right, to go bomb the heck out of any country you want to.
He said that, these guys are drug runners, so he just wants to kill them all. That's all. There's no need to do war.
And that's interesting, Bill, because that's a good point that you make there, that he calls them drug runners and drug dealers, not nations that he's attacking. And as a nation, he probably would have to go to Congress, wouldn't he, if he wanted to attack Venezuela?
Well, he should, but he should be going to Congress if he wants to do what he's doing. But, he doesn't have to. He's our supreme leader.
Kind of like Rocky and Bullwinkle, the supreme leader in that cartoon character.
Like Stalin and Mao and
Molotov.
I wouldn't say all those guys. Hitler, because you get criticized if the Hitler.
Well, he did take his atrocities went way beyond what anybody would have expected. But yes, I mean, normally if a president, Bill, let's just stop to just clarify this a little bit. If a president said they wanted to strike at military targets or any target, let's say in any country, wouldn't they have to meet with the leadership of the Congress
Absolutely.
and the Senate? Is it both houses to get approval and support before they did that?
Yes.
So he could argue, though, couldn't he, that I met with the Republican leadership, which controls the Congress. They do everything I say, and I have the authority. But wouldn't the Congress have to pass a resolution to do that?
Yeah, sure. It's up to Congress to fund these, to fund everything, and certainly to fund the war. And Congress could refuse to do so. But underneath the present circumstances, that's not going to happen. You know that. Well, as I do, he's got the entire Republican Party cowed. It's terrible, but it happens to be the case.
Yeah, I was going to say, isn't it the problem that the situation is so fogged and blurred up that the mechanics of government have been blurred. There's no clear lines anymore about what you can or can't do because the president is redefining the Constitution by his rhetoric.
Correct.
And nobody's looking at the printed page and say, well, wait a minute. The Constitution, it's very clear you got to do this. He just completely interprets it any way he wants, doesn't allow anybody to challenge him. The media is crippled. They're disabled, bullied by him. We saw a couple weeks ago or last week, he imposed new restrictions on reporters covering the Pentagon, basically saying that you can't break a story that might expose secret illegal missions by the Pentagon or things that are in violation of law, and that if you do that, you could be charged as a foreign spy. So they demanded that all these media sign this document that said that they're going to abide by that. And 90% of the media walked out and said, we're not going to cover the State Department, the Pentagon. We won't cover the Pentagon. And they walked out, they left. I don't know what the current status is of that because our media is in complete turmoil like this country.
Well, one problem with the news media, though, Ray, is that the news media, for as long as I can remember, has always leaned left, always favored the Democrats, always favored the more liberal position. And Trump is simply, I shouldn't say simply, but I mean, he's trying to change that situation around. Once again, he goes at it with a sledgehammer, though, rather than with a scalpel. There are so many things that he could do in this country, correct in this country, correct in the world, if he only had the tact to do so. He doesn't. He has the inclination to do many things, but he doesn't have the tact to bring them off smoothly. I don't know what we're getting by all these tariffs he threatened. I don't think we're gaining anything. It seems to me all it has wound up doing is costing us jobs in this country.
So, but he does these things that now it doesn't sound like a big threat, right? When they say, oh, he sent an aircraft carrier to the waters around Central and South America. He's sending a ship down there that's fully armed, ready for war. It doesn't seem like a big problem because it's just South America and the Caribbean. What could happen down there? But the truth is that we could be setting the stage for a war that isn't officially declared.
Absolutely.
And quietly sending troops down there. I mean, we're sending our battleships down there. They obviously have troops. And the president's talking about adding 5,000 more troops to the region to ratchet up pressure against Venezuela, the government. Now, Maduro, I guess, he lost the election. And according to the Western sources, I don't know what the truth is. But I don't know. Is that our problem? In the past, right? Wouldn't the CIA just go down there and assassinate somebody and put their own puppet in charge?
We knew how to do it once upon a time.
Yeah, but it was a different kind of game. And I'm not saying that's right either. But Trump doesn't care. He just openly says, well, we're going to take this guy out.
Well, he wouldn't get any credit for it then. He makes sure he gets credit for everything he does. He loves to see his name, in the newspapers, loves to see himself on television, hear himself on the radio. He's the most egotistical person. You got to have pretty big ego to run for president of the United States. But he's got the biggest ego of any person I've ever run into. Believe me.
Yeah, and we did this in Iran. They democratically elected a leader, and we didn't like it. And the CIA went and killed Mossadegh, I think was the guy's name, arrested him and then had him killed. And then we installed the Shah of Iran, who then proceeded to destroy the country with the Sabak, which was this brutal secret service that killed 1 million Iranians over the course of the Shah's, reign. And we treated him as our best friend. It was clear to the people in Iran that, we're the reason why the Shah is doing everything that he's doing. And then when the people finally get upset, they rebel against this type of tyranny and they throw him out. But instead of coming in the middle because they're so angry with us, they become un-American. And the Ayatollah walks in there and then takes over, and we only look at it from history. We say, oh yeah, the Ayatollah was a terrorist, terrible person. He was, but we're the ones that created the atmosphere where we allowed a friend of ours to kill all these people. And when he was replaced by someone who wasn't a friend of ours who was killing all those people, we find ourselves in a horrible situation today. And it still hasn't ended, right? We still have this problem with Iran and its nuclear weapons, all because it goes back to that one moment when we decided that we were going to decide who was going to be the leader of Iran. And we secretly went in there with the CIA and took the guy out. It's wrong to do that. But we don't have any consequences.
What we should do right now, I think, with Iran is okay our number one ally in the world to go in there and take them out with a couple of nukes.
The Saudis.
No.
No, we can't. Listen, if we go in there, let's talk about that, because I know you're talking about the Israel.
Right.
If we were to allow Israel again to go in there and do more than just bomb some of these bunkers where they have these nuclear things, and let's say they destroyed Iran, I think it would create a revolution that would be far worse than what we've ever seen, that would spread not only through the Middle East, but would undermine what we're trying to do. It would completely reinforce the idea that we're not really a democracy, that the only way we know how to do things is we bully people. If we don't like them, hey, we're stronger, we're bigger, we just take them out. And we think that that resolves the problem. But I'm telling you, when you look at what's happening in Gaza, do you think the children of these people that are killed in Gaza are going to grow up not hating the Israeli government? It's going to be 100 times worse. I think that's what. No, but I'm saying that's what would happen in Iran. We kill all those people. What do you think is going to happen? If they did that to us, wouldn't we do the same thing? We would fight hard.
If we were big enough and strong enough, yes.
Yeah, but eventually there are different ways to be big enough and strong enough, and it becomes dangerous for everybody. I guess what concerns me is Trump has no long-range vision for how the United States is going to act and what it needs to do. They really should sit down and put together with the Democrats and put together a plan on how to make America great.
But they're not going to do that.
You're right. I mean, that's the problem. They're just using it for politics.
I mean, the only answer to this situation as far as Trump is that the Democrats have to control the House of Representatives in the next election. Now, I'm not a big supporter of a lot of Democrats, particularly your buddy in New York City, but right. I want to see them take over the Congress because we have to have a legal block on Trump, because I don't think he really knows what he's doing, and he certainly isn't helping America in the long run. I think he's making a lot of enemies for us that we don't need.
Yeah, I think just this past week, I think yesterday maybe, Trump ordered more strikes against alleged drug boats. He says they're drug boats in the Pacific, and they killed 14 people and they grabbed one survivor. But the problem to me, I mean, yeah, if they're drug dealers, yeah, we should get them. But we're a democracy. We have a process, right? Before we kill somebody, don't we charge them and accuse them and show the proof? Trump doesn't feel like he has to prove anything. If he says you're a drug dealer, he could attack two guys on politics and say that we're a communist.
Absolutely. And after this program, he's liable to do so.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just
I don't know who's going to get us first, Trump or Bibi Netanyahu.
Well, Bibi has his own problems, fortunately, but it'll probably be Trump. But that to me is desperate.
If I was president and I had the trouble with narcotics coming out of, South America, and they had these ships, we got this magnificent Navy. I mean, they showed a picture of what's sailing down to South America. 3 big aircraft carriers, several cruisers, a lot of smaller boats, destroyers, etc. That armada, we could go down there, we could intercept every one of these boats, take the people off, and really investigate to see if they're involved with drugs or are they just fishermen instead of just going down there and killing them. That is not the American way. As I see it, the American way would be to intercept the boats, interrogate the people, see if they have drugs on those boats, and if they do, bring them up here and put them on trial. That's the American way, not the Trump way, but the American way.
Yeah, the Trump way has undermined I think, the public sense of justice and policing and fighting crime. The way he's handling the illegal alien, if you want to call it undocumented resident issue, I think he's overdoing it, and he's doing it the wrong way.
Absolutely.
I think he should have convinced the public that, at least, if not Governor Pritzker and Mayor Brandon Johnson in Chicago, for example, that you need support to crack down on crime. And part of that crime involves illegal aliens. And we will treat illegal aliens under the guise of our law, our laws, treat them fairly under the law, and decide what should happen with them. Instead, he just sends them in like he's invading Illinois and Chicago, and it makes what he's trying to do look bad, even though I think his goal is good. He's doing it in a bad way, and it gets confused.
80% of the American public supported deporting all these illegal aliens that came in during the 4 years of the Biden administration. Right. Okay. Now, because of the way it has been handled, it's down to about 45, 46%. It's lost an amazing amount of support amongst the American people because of the way it has been handled.
Right. He's not handling it right. And that's Trump's problem, isn't it? It's not that his ideas are bad. He has some good ideas and bad ideas, but a lot of good ideas. He just doesn't implement those ideas in a democratic way that respects our democracy as as a free country. It's almost like acts like a dictator, using the shield and the veil of the U.S. Constitution to protect himself when he doesn't even follow the Constitution. It's really disturbing.
It is, absolutely.
But we're caught up in a polarized fight between Republicans and Democrats. The Democratic leadership is horrible. The Republican leadership is even just as horrible. Every time I see Johnson, the Speaker of the House, on TV, I turn the TV off. I can't listen to him. This guy is like a propaganda mouthpiece for a bad policy. And they don't want to negotiate. We're 30 days into a government shutoff, and they don't think it's important enough to stop it. They could stop it if they wanted to. But this week I did that column looking at a microcosm of the Republican Democratic Party. Illinois is a Democratic blue state.
Correct.
And we've seen the disappearance, the evaporation of the Republican Party over the last few years in northern Illinois. They once used to be a formidable counterbalance. And you've said many times, and I always point to this, that checks and balances require a balance of political parties, Democrats and Republicans. When you eliminate the Republicans, the Democrats, not all of them, but a lot of them, do crazy things. They do things that are wrong. And I think that's what's happening in Illinois. Pritzker just passed another wave of tax increases on us. Another wave. He just passed one last year. And we're still trying. We don't even get the debate or the discussion about what these tax hikes are, but we're being taxed to death. Chicago needs $1.5 billion, and they're going to lay the entire burden on funding the CTA, and they're going to make the suburbs, again, how many times have they done that, right? They make the suburbs pay for the improvements at the CTA. They do that every time. And
I was in Congress when the Democrats controlled everything, when the Republicans controlled everything. It was the worst of times, believe me. Yeah. The way that this country should function, if you want it to be an effective country for the people, divided government. I had said during the presidential campaign that Trump won the last time. I didn't care who won, as long as the opposite party controlled at least one house of Congress. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. That's why we have Trump in a position where he's just going off and doing all these things that he wants to do, consulting with no one, honoring nothing, quite frankly. The destroying the East Wing of the White House doesn't make any difference to me whatsoever. I was never in the East Wing, and I'm not even sure I knew it existed. But the way to destroy it the way he destroyed it and build this monstrosity that he's building, I believe he wants to see to it that it's called Trump Hall. So it'll be there forever. Well, I don't want to go into that, but he disgusts me because one of the worst things about him, as far as I'm concerned, is that he has many good ideas, many ideas that I support. But the way he has handled the situation has caused so many people to turn against not only him, but the ideas that he had, which are good ideas. But it's very difficult to support him because he's the main spokesman for these ideas.
Yeah, and this week I did a column. If anybody wants to go to Hanania.com, they can read it there. Again, I should point out that these columns, including your column, Bill, right from the middle, I think, right? Right from the middle, yes. Right from the middle, should be posted at the southwestregionalpublishing.com. And you can look up opinion, and you should be able to see Bill's columns and my columns appearing there. They're redoing their website, and they're going to include our columns that we publish in the newspapers, so people can read that. But for now, if you want to read this column I wrote about the collapse of the Republican Party, the only thing interesting to me when I was looking at why the Republican Party in Illinois is almost dead, especially in northern Illinois. It still has it's on life support down in southern Illinois, but they're going to remap the state again. They're talking about remapping the state to eliminate more Republican congressional seats, as not because it benefits Illinois, but because they want to counter what's being done in Texas, I think, where the Republicans are remapping and increasing the voice of the Republican Party there. But what was interesting when I looked at Illinois, I mean, we had Abraham Lincoln, who ran under the Republican Party, to become president. He was part of the Whig Party, and he ran as a Republican. He was a Republican from Illinois. Ronald Reagan ran, lived in this state, and his whole childhood was in this state, and he became one of the greatest Republicans. And I think a lot of people in Chicago are like you and me, were conservative Democrats. And I think that conservative Democrats have no place to go in Illinois to support Republicans. And I think that conservative Democrats, we were the swing vote. We could go to the Republican side if they had good leaders, and we can go to the Democratic side if we had good leaders. But now we don't have a Republican side, so we're stuck on one side, and they're not doing a good job.
Well, when the collar counties were Republican, they were offset Cook County and city of Chicago, which was good. It was good for the people. But as time has gone on, more and more people from Cook County and the city of Chicago have moved in the suburban area, thereby making it more Democratic. And one big factor is that the Democratic Party is a party of birth control, abortion. And so many suburban women in the collar counties and in suburban Cook County are pro-choice. They're the ones that first started voting Democratic. And as time has gone on, they have pulled their husbands along, to the Democratic side also. And many of those people had been Republicans, but because of this one single issue, they have turned into becoming Democrats. And then there are a lot of other policies that the Democrats have come forward with that the former suburban Republicans think have been advantageous. I don't think so. And I'm pro-life. I've always been pro-life, but I can understand these people not being pro-life. That's the biggest factor. Plus, people just moving out of the city, moving into the suburbs who were Democrats.
And that's a good point. I mean, so this one group of voters, women, have really, a lot of them have decided on the issue of pro-life and abortion. Absolutely. That they've decided to go with the Democrats mainly because of that issue, forgetting about everything else they may or may not support. It's the same way with the Arab community in Illinois, which is growing. It's huge, especially in the southwest suburbs of Chicagoland. The issue for them is Islamophobia in the Middle East. But the truth is that Arabs are very conservative. They support prayer in school. They're against this sexual orientation expansion, where they allow kids to decide whether they should be male or female and transgender. They don't support welfare. They believe that, they put their whole families in their businesses. They all work. Nobody stays at home when they open a business. They all work. And these are good things. They were always a foundation of the Republican Party. And to me, that's changed because now they're focused on the one issue, Gaza, and our Middle East policy. And they've abandoned the Republican Party, which represents all the other issues that have been important to them as a people. And I think that happens to every group.
I think that's a very, very good point that you make. I just want to say one thing about, since the situation in Gaza and the Middle East have really been on the front burner, I have noticed, and this is a good thing, I have noticed more and more Muslim women out in the general public shopping. I mean, you can tell because of, the headgear that they...
Right, the hijab.
I think it's good. They're exposing themselves more and more to mainstream America. And as I've told them many times, the way you're going to get equal balance in this country with the Jewish people is by becoming more Americanized, becoming more involved in the general American way of life, quite frankly. And that is happening. In spite of all the problems, more and more women I see out like that.
Yeah, and it would be nice, though, if we looked at all the issues. All right, we got to end it. I'm just going to end it by saying I didn't go all the way with LBJ. And although I couldn't vote at the time, I had an AUH2O sign in my window as a kid because I thought it was very cool that Goldwater's name could be converted into chemical symbols. Listen, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. I'm Ray Hanania.
I'm Bill Lipinski, and this is Two Guys on Politics.
All right, we'll see everybody again next week. Bye-bye, everybody.
Are you going to start a restaurant or a grocery store soon? Do you need floor plans and designs? Call Najee Abood at 734-744-9796. Do you want to buy kitchen and restaurant equipment at discount prices? Call Najee Abood now, 734-744-9796. New Concept Products and Design, the trademark of kitchen equipment. 5% discount on all purchases of $75,000 or more. New Concept Products and Design, new location, 31185 Schoolcraft in Livonia. Learn more at www.newconceptproducts.com. Call Najee Abood, 734-744-9796.
With more than 30,000 successful in vitro fertilizations, IVF Michigan is now ranked as one of America's best fertility clinics according to Newsweek magazine. IVF Michigan fertility centers are the recognized leaders in high-quality fertility care. With locations in Bloomfield Hills and 9 other cities in Michigan and Ohio, IVF has experts in all aspects of the field. A founding member, American board-certified Dr. Nicholas Shama, is one of the leading reproductive endocrinologists in Michigan and Ohio. He has performed over 20,000 successful IVF cases, and it's helped thousands of couples fulfill their dreams of parenthood. When it's time to get personalized care from Dr. Nicholas Shama at one of America's best fertility clinics, call IVF Michigan Fertility Centers in Michigan and Ohio at 248-487-8084. That's 248-487-8084.
Ziyad brand. Quality products from our family to yours. Ziyad Brothers Importing offers the finest quality products, including brands like Sultan, Kraft, Nestle, Hook, Rico Picon, Dana, and many more. Ask your retailer to carry these fine products because you deserve the very best. For more information, visit our website at www.ziyad.com. That's www.ziyad.com. Ziyad, quality products from our family to yours.